Hey, welcome to Bloodhouse, the show where we talk about art house horror movies. I'm your host, Joshua Conkle.
And I am your guide through this difficult point in your life, Drusilla Adeline.
If it were you, I would trust it. I see, like, usually these new age people I don't really trust, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've been reorganizing my house. I've been getting a fresh start to the new year. I literally the minute that the new year kind of ended and like the quote unquote work year started again, my email flooded.
Mm-hmm.
So on that front, I'm doing quite well. There's billboards all over LA with work I've done on them. I've got a
Which
bunch of
ones?
awesome new projects. Good Trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bunch of awesome new stuff. I finally finished collecting all of the 1990s Universal Monsters VHS tapes.
Okay, that's
So
great.
that's a goal accomplished. 37 of them. They are all lined up behind me. It's, there's a void in my life is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
No, things are great. Things are good. I don't know. It's January. Like we're doing it.
Freezing. I mean,
oh my God.
I'm freezing. I'm fully winterized here, and I know that people who are listening from actual cold climates are rolling their eyes, but I'm not built for this. I'm a California boy. I'm really, really cold.
You're from the Pacific Northwest and Kentucky. What is wrong with you?
I know. But it's the way that you feel in Washington, if your feet get cold in the morning, they stay cold all day, and there's nothing that you can do about it except take a hot bath. That's how I feel right now. My feet are freezing and I can't get them warm no matter what. And it's really a problem.
I have central heating, but also I've lived primarily in Indiana and Chicago in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just not really acclimated to California weather. I guess after being here for 7 years now.
Yeah, I guess I am.
I don't know. I still if someone my partner's from South Carolina, so when the forecast is in the 50s, she's freaking out and is I need to bundle, I need to wear sweaters, and I'm like, shorts weather, cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm still not there. I have one of my best friends in the whole wide world is also from Indiana. We went to high school together. She now also lives out here in LA, 5 minutes from me. And she acclimated to LA weather within 2 days. She if it dips into the 60s, she is shivering and refuses to leave her house.
I am such a pussy about the cold. One time I was shooting Sabrina in Vancouver and it was December. To my credit, it's a horror show, so a lot of it's in the woods, and so it's overnight in December in Vancouver. It's below
and we
freezing.
Should also reiterate that you were working on that show as a writer, so you were the one who said it in the woods. This was your choice.
It's not your choice. You're given the story. I didn't choose it. So it's 3 a.m. I'm trying to enjoy a hot dog in the forest of Vancouver. And they run out of space heaters, and it's the only time I've ever been unkind to somebody on set in my life, where this poor PA was like, I'm so sorry, we're out of space heaters. And I was like, what do you mean we're out of space heaters? This is not an indie film. This is a Warner Brothers TV show. Do I have to drive myself to Target and buy a space heater? And it's literally the only time. And it's just because I'm a monster when I'm cold, because I'm a soft little baby. I can't get cold.
You are the Taraji P. Henson of that show. Good for you.
Exactly.
Call them out.
It was really me. I mean, I had, to be clear, I already had one space heater. I wanted a second.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's a you problem.
Anyway, I'm not handling it well. I'm really suffering. I'm cold.
Take a bath. What can I say? I don't think I've ever seen you not wearing a sweater. At all, ever. Yeah. The last time that you came over to my place, you were wearing a very nice sweater that had a nice collar on it and stuff like that, and you looked very good. And 3 hours later, my friend came by with his chihuahua, and I swear to God, the chihuahua was wearing the exact same sweater as you.
I do dress like a dog. It's true.
You and Edie have very similar fashion sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm built for like the Pacific Northwest. Not too cold,
Yeah.
not too hot, lots of sweaters, lots of coziness, but not like Indiana style where it's like actually snowy. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
like a
not
little
like Chicago
gloomy.
where you're like, oh, I have to make sure I catch the L on time or I'll
Yeah.
freeze to
I'll
death on the
freeze to death.
platform.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do that. Yeah, I really am built for the Pacific Northwest. That's the truth.
Yeah. Have you been watching
Anyway,
anything great?
no. I did. I did go to a. I did go to a film premiere, a Blumhouse film premiere, and going to film
Oh.
premieres is fun, but Bloodhouse, you know, they can go either way, and this one went one way, and it was Night Swim, the
Oh.
haunted pool film. I don't want to talk too much trash because the movie's not good, but I'm not here to like make fun of people, and I don't want to alienate anyone since I work in this business and live in Los Angeles. I think there's some cool things about it. There's some fun cinematography. I like the actors. Kurt Russell's rather son is pretty hot and pretty good.
Ken Russell's son is also pretty hot, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah. But what it did make me think of is that it's like kind of undone by its sentimentality about the characters, and it does it in a very like TV-ish way. And I understand that I'm a TV writer. I get that, but I think it's been ruining a lot of horror movies for a long time, is this feeling that I get. And I tweeted about this when I still had a personal Twitter account. And people got really mad at me because I was like, filmmakers, you know, if you're making a teen slasher movie, you really can't just chop through those kids. Like, we don't need these sentimental backstories.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a CW show. I think the new Scream, as much as I really liked it, kind of falls victim to that a little bit, where it's like, all right, if we're doing Scream 7, we got to start hacking through some of these kids. Because
I don't know if we are doing Scream 7, but that's also a different conversation.
At this point, maybe we shouldn't have a Scream 7. My point is that, like, I think these filmmakers and the executives and everyone else involved feels like this will make us care about the characters, but it actually doesn't, because it feels so insincere and it's not part of the action, and it makes us fall out of the story, actually.
This is
Do you understand what I mean?
And I know exactly what you mean. And this is a very weird thing that I've noticed over the past 5 or so years, trending in both television and in movies, but primarily in movies. And it's weird because I see it as like a counterpoint to what I've been seeing in real life, where I feel like post-COVID and post the rise of the previous president of the United States, Donald Trump, there's been a like expression in the real world around us of apathy and of like outright anger and not caring about other human beings. Like, it's actually gotten like car accident rates have gone up, like drunk driving rates have gone up, like anger and aggression like in public has gone up. Like, these are national statistics, and I also see it like every day, just like driving in LA, walking in the streets, like people, whether it's like on TikTok or whatever, feel more available to like scream at fucking people who work at a fucking Starbucks or whatever, which like, don't be going to Starbucks right now. It's a boycott. But like, it's really bizarre. And the opposite is that like in media right now, we're getting a lot more character and sympathy and kindness towards all characters.
Yeah.
And it's made a lot of what would otherwise be very, very good horror outings toothless. And the big example of that for me was Last Night in Soho, which like was very fun and visual and great and has a lot of great stuff, but like was too interested in like making sure that all of its characters had a happy ending that it ceased to be a horror movie.
I would say that every teen horror movie I've seen probably for 5 years has done it to some extent or another. Sometimes successfully. Like, I think, you know, he's my best friend, but I think Freaky did it really well.
Freaky did it very well.
Thanksgiving was a little bit undone by that problem, which is such a nasty, mean-spirited movie, but then also tried to have this like sentimental CW kind of teen story going on.
It feels like a big studio note kind of thing.
It does, but I don't know if it's always coming from the studio anymore. I think people have taken it to heart in a way that's kind of a bummer. And to be clear, I want to care about the characters. I'm not suggesting we go back to Friday the 13th part 5 where it's just like people are disposable. But I think it's better when you do it like Black Christmas 1974, where you care very deeply for all of those girls, but you don't get to know them through like, sentimental monologues. Everything that you learn about them happens within the action of the story, and you get it in little drips and drabs. And it feels very grounded and very truthful. My problem with this like new streak of sentimentality is that it doesn't feel truthful. It feels hacky. It feels television like. Yeah. And it feels like, to your point about the culture, it feels a little bit like 1950s and 1980s culture, which was I understand if you lived it, was quite dark and cold and apathetic, but the cultural output of that time was very hacky and sentimental and conservative, like the sitcoms of the 1980s, the sitcoms of the 1950s. It kind of feels like that a little bit to me.
Well, we'll be getting into it later with the main movie that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
But it's allowing the audience the intelligence to interpret the characters and the world around them without having to like. So in Black Christmas 1974, we understand that Margot Kidder has a poor relationship with her family, and that she has an alcohol problem, and she has a problem with has internal problems with herself and has problems with self-soothing because she has issues with her family. At no point does Margot Kidder sit down by the fire when we've had a lull between killer phone calls and like tell you the tragic story of her relationship with her family. She gets a phone call and we only hear her side of it while other shit's going on, and we are able to interpret that. That's
that is good writing. That's
good writing. But it's also insane to me because in 1984, in Gremlins, and then again in Gremlins 2, they parody the tragic backstory idea.
I love it
for
so much.
A character that like you don't need to know that much about.
I especially love it in Gremlins 2 because they interrupt her that time and she's like, President's Day, don't mention Abe Lincoln to me. And then they just start talking over her. It's so good.
That's how I feel about all this stuff. It's like
me too.
It's not needed.
It feels so hacky.
Yeah. Anyway, people don't trust audiences to read things on their own. But again, it's a conservative thing, is if you allow audiences to be able to read that much into it, they'll read more than what you intended. So if you only intended this, we'll only make sure they can only read this into it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just what I've been reflecting on based on the horror movies that I've been watching. How are you? Have you seen anything cool?
I'm good. I've seen a few things great. One in the theater recently because I was very, very excited. One of my favorite filmmakers has a new movie out, and it's probably near the end of its run here in LA. And, you know, it's an international film. It's a smaller film. It did well at festivals. And it's going to be going to Mubi soon because it's like a Mubi release in America. But the incredible Finnish filmmaker Aki Kaurismäki is back. His new movie is called Fallen Leaves. It is, on the surface, a very simple, quiet, small romance between two blue-collar people. It is also a very, very political film. It is incredible. It is lovely. It is delightful. If you're not familiar with his movies, he's kind of like a Finnish answer to Jim Jarmusch. And I think he's better than Jim Jarmusch.
Yeah.
But they're buddies, and like they like pop up in each other's movies all the time, and like the like Helsinki sequence of Jim Jarmusch's Night on Earth is basically him doing an Aki Kaurismäki movie. They're always like gorgeously lit, very static, very dry, but super funny. Always populated by like blue collar individuals on the fringes of society who like get by with like drinking at the pub and listening to like good music, and like they're very beautiful, very powerful. And Fallen Leaves is great. It's kind of an homage back to like movies like Brief Encounter and stuff like that, but it's like super contemporary. It's set in 2024, which was weird since it was released and made in 2023. So that's what I like in a like sci-fi version of the future where it's just the same. About two people who like work very dead-end jobs. They keep getting fired and having to get new jobs throughout the movie. And the man is a bit of an alcoholic, with very little prospects, and the woman also has very little prospects, and they meet each other a few times, don't get their names, meet each other a few times, someone gives the other one a phone number, loses the phone number, meet each other a few, like they keep coming back to each other, they make each other better, and there's a constant like noise in the background of the movie of the like Russian-Ukrainian war, and they're constantly having to deal with like inflation and these awful hiring practices and these awful work environments, and their only outlets and joys outside of all of that are each other and then going to the movies, and that's it. And they're so delightful and so wonderful and funny and dry, and the music is great. There's a like 2-person Finnish like alt pop group that pops up in one scene, and I've been listening to them so much since seeing it. I will also say that when I saw it at a Lemley theater near my home. A friend went with us at the same time, but to go see the A24 wrestling drama Iron Claw, which is a very sad movie. And he was like, he knew it was going to be very sad going in. He has like a similar relationship with his family. And so he knew it was going to be very personal. And our theaters were right next to each other. And apparently I laughed so loud at Fallen Leaves that they could hear me in Iron Claw.
You are a very loud person, which I forget doing the podcast, and then in person I'm like, oh wow, I forgot that Drusilla has a very loud voice.
Yeah. So I don't know, I'm mildly proud about that, but also I'm very like
yeah.
So I may have ruined a screening of the Iron Claw, but Fallen Leaves is very good and you should see it.
When you said static and dry, I thought you were going to say that it was Zone of Interest, which I think I might see tonight at Vista.
I need to see Zone of Interest. I know I want to see Zone of Interest, but it's one of those things where like I am scared out of my mind to see Zone of Interest.
Yeah, I know.
I also like, the other thing is like I strongly didn't like that director's last film, Under the Skin. I strongly dislike that movie. Yeah. So I'm just like,
I know, we have to do Under the Skin sometime because I really like that movie and you really dislike it. And I think that would make it interesting.
Now that will be a true zone of interest.
Yeah. Well, speaking of zones of interest, today we are covering a brilliant early film by Todd Haynes, maker of 2023 hit film May December. From 1995, we are discussing Safe.
How you feeling?
I still have this head thing.
What the hell is going on here?
It's in the air, in the water, in our homes.
Oh my God.
It cannot be seen, cannot be heard, cannot be stopped.
We can turn it on and off like a switch. We just don't know how to make it go away.
Oh.
It is not alien.
Come back!
It is not viral.
You are perfectly healthy. You might want to consult someone. A psychiatrist.
It is not natural to this earth.
Your family and friends tell you that you're overreacting.
Where can you go when no place is
safe?
I had never seen this movie, believe it or not.
You'd never seen this before?
No, I thought I had, but I definitely hadn't. As soon as it started, I was like, oh no, I've never seen this. And I really loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's really good. I'd have to be a dum-dum not to love it. But when did you first see this?
I saw this in college. So I was talking about this last night with my girlfriend after we had watched it, because we had a very strong reaction to this movie. I love this movie.
It's so good.
Because, we watched it at night at home. I've got a Criterion Blu-ray of it. We had the speakers up very loud, the room, so it was very, very good watching experience. This movie's gorgeous. I watched it for the first time in college, and at my college's library, I went to film school at an art school in Chicago in like the early 2010s, mid 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
To rent a movie from my college's library, you had to go up to a desk in the back of the library on the third floor. You had to ask for the movie, and then they would give you like whatever formats they had of it. They had Laserdisc, they had VHS, they had DVD. And sometimes they had movies on multiple formats, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they would say, okay, you're going to be at Terminal B. I'll meet you over there with the movie. Jeez. You had to watch it at a little
carol,
alcove.
Like a study carol.
Yeah, at a little study carol. And you had like a TV with like a DVD VCR combo. And like, if you ordered a Laserdisc, I think they had to wheel a Laserdisc player out on a cart or something. Gosh. And there's people walking around, and it's like bright overhead lighting, and you have to put headphones on and just sit there and have this tiny little TV. What? Awful viewing experience.
Great way to watch Videodrome and basically nothing else. Not a great way to watch Safe.
Not a great way to watch Safe. And so I got very little out of it other than the narrative of the movie, which is one of the least important aspects of the movie. And so I was like, okay, that was good, that was interesting, but it didn't do a lot for me. So revisiting for this was like being hit by a truck.
Yeah.
The aesthetic choices in this movie, the way it is shot, the way it is blocked, the way it's planned out, the score in this music, the use of music,
mm-hmm.
the sound design in this movie. I mean, I'm kind of sad that this is the only Todd Haynes movie we'll ever be able to do on this show.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's the only thing he ever got towards horror. And it is, well, first off, this is a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean,
1,000,000%.
I think you can make that case for sure. I mean, many critics have made that case. It is definitely upsetting. The music, like you mentioned, is like very David Lynchy. Mm-hmm. It's an upsetting movie. Synopsis wise, Julianne Moore plays Carol White. It is 1987, and she is a wealthy housewife in Sherman Oaks who's living a very boring life, but comfortable. She is distanced from her husband to some degree. She's distanced from her friends. Everyone around her is very vapid and doing weird diets, and she's renovating the house, and she's seemingly very bored. And she starts to get mysterious illnesses, coughs, nosebleeds, dizziness, that sort of stuff. And she's going to doctors who tell her that there's nothing wrong with her or that it's psychological. She goes to a psychiatrist who tells her it's stress related. But one day when she's leaving a workout class, she sees a flyer for a group that says that they have, really strong reactions to the chemicals in the environment. So she starts to dig, and then she starts to believe that she is basically very sensitive and susceptible to different kinds of chemicals in the environment, which alienates her further and further and further, so much so that she retreats to this sort of desert commune where everyone says that they have like environmental illnesses, and then she gets worse and worse from there, basically. I don't know. Would you add anything? That's
a pretty accurate plot synopsis. The movie, especially in the mid-90s, plays very closely to like made for TV of the week, like disease movies.
Like yeah, Boy in the Plastic Bubble, which is older than that, but it's one of the references that Todd Haynes looked at.
It's pretty on the nose. Like, we watched a lot of those in like health class when I was in like middle school and high school. of like, what's wrong with me? I don't know. I was just enjoying being on the volleyball team until today, but now what's this? And then there's like the scene where she sits down with the 7 doctors all say, I don't know. And then finally at the third act, when she's at her breaking point and had the very worst injury she could possibly have, then she discusses with someone new. Someone has a new idea. Who's going to fix it? And they solve it. And she comes to this realization that everything's going to be okay, or maybe this will be a thing that'll be with her for her life, but she's understood now. And sure, she's in this wheelchair now, but she's learned something about herself. And now she's a stronger woman. And this is borrowing that narrative, and it's not that movie in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Let me read something to you because I thought it was really interesting. Haynes said its themes, disease and immunity in a post-industrial landscape, and how recovery is a burden often placed on victims of illness, were even more relevant than they were when the film was released, which I think is true. But also, that leads me to believe that Todd Haynes feels that she, and by proxy, I guess the other people at this retreat, are genuinely sick, which was not my takeaway from the film at all.
What I love about this film is that he plays it very coy the entire time. There's very much a like before and after mark for when she goes to the retreat, which is called Wrenwood. Right. Yes. And before she goes to Wrenwood, all of her symptoms are small. She's coughing. She's having a nosebleed. And I saw an interview with Julianne Moore where she said all of those moments were precisely planned so that they could be interpreted as she's very stressed, but she's also getting a perm. So is she having a nosebleed from stress? Is she very anxious and she's playing it very jitter the whole time? Yeah. Or is it from the chemicals? And this is a back and forth. She has very small symptoms like that. And then she goes to a conference where someone says, where Beth Grant says, people have even been known to have seizures. And then the next time that she's in an environment with a lot of chemicals following a very stressful point, she has a seizure.
She has a seizure.
And you follow along that where you're like, okay, this could be psychosomatic, or this could be something else. But then by the time that she gets to Wrenwood, where everyone around her is telling her, we're also sick, even though they look visibly significantly healthier than her. Mm-hmm. This is all psychosomatic. It's all in your head. And we're going to help you fix it. We're going to help you get to the real you inside, and you're going to solve this. She gets visibly worse. She starts to form lesions on her head. She starts to lose weight significantly. It's so
all of the choices are so good. Sorry.
Yeah. When you think, oh, no. It's like she definitely just, all the doctors are saying it's in her head. She just needs to, and then all the new age people are saying that she needs this. It's always the opposite.
Yeah.
And I do think that like it's a telling, like it's a very tricky labyrinth, because I do think she is actually sick by the end, but the question is whether or not she was a mentally ill woman who made herself sick by going through all these processes, or whether becoming sick revealed to her that she's mentally ill.
Yeah, well, and I think the movie plays on your assumptions, whatever they are anyway, because he sets up one thing and then gives you another thing. So for an example, the person who runs Wrenwood is Peter Dunning, played by Peter Friedman. So listener, if you watch Succession, he's Frank from Succession, and he's really great in this.
He's amazing in this.
Todd Haynes makes the choice to make him a gay man with AIDS because that, of course, will make you as an audience feel sympathetic toward him. But he's actually just like a fascist and a hypocrite who lives on a mansion on the grounds while everybody else like lives in these rinky-dink little huts, basically. And, he's like spouting this stuff about, he's based partially on a very popular New Age author from the 80s who wrote books about AIDS and how gay men could overcome AIDS with self-love.
It was the idea of like, what about you made you get sick? You're denying something about yourself that made you get sick. And if you practice these affirmations every day, you can get better again, which is so, like, from the perspective of someone who is ill, such a, like, tricky, like, state to be in, because you're going to constantly work and never going to get there. It's going to be this constant Sisyphean feat, and you're just going to get worse.
Yeah.
And from her perspective, it's so vile and evil.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I mean, it's a trap of self-help. It's like the self-help space can be so insidious and insidious. What is the word I'm looking for?
Insidious.
Insidious, thank you. Insidious and evil, because it really does trap people and leech money from them. And it's a crock of shit, just like a bunch of diets are a crock of shit. And like that whole space is a crock of shit. And I say this as somebody who used to have a podcast about witchcraft and astrology. But I'm very like triggered by this subject, I guess, because the past few years, you know, especially coming out of COVID with a lot of science deniers, and it's just very triggering to me.
You know what this made me think of, especially in that back half at Renwood, is something that you mentioned on a previous episode, and then I went and watched it after the fact, was the Mother God cult documentary.
Yes, Love Is One.
Love Is One. Yeah. I was thinking about that through a lot of the back half of this, because there's multiple ways of viewing this movie. You can view it as a very serious drama about environmental illness and about the amount of toxins in the 20th century and 21st century in everyday products that are like spurned on by capitalism. That is a 100% valid read of this movie, and that is like a genuine like issue that is out in the world right now.
Yeah,
you can also view this as a like horror movie about like a mysterious disease. That's also a valid view, but you can also view this movie as a like social drama about like a critique of mid-century gender roles as like a housewife melodrama. That also works. You can also read it as a horror movie about a woman who gets indoctrinated into a cult.
Yeah.
Because it very much is.
Because it's true. Yeah. It's totally, Renwood is absolutely a cult. I mean, they also have all these spiritual beliefs and stuff like that.
Because that's what I was thinking watching the Mother God documentary is like, there's all these like very, it's like almost a majority of women, white women from affluent places that joined her cult. And some of them were dealing with health issues. Some of them were dealing with like a disconnect internally. Some of them were dealing with issues with their parents. Some of them were dealing with mental illness issues. And all of them started digging into ideas of spirituality and stuff and what can make them better online or healing things. And then found this and then moved out into the cult and stuff like that. And you always, when you see like the police raid of a cult, and you're seeing like, you know, blonde, skinny women in their mid 20s, you're like, what are you doing there? How did you get there? You're from a super rich, affluent family. Like, how did you? This is the story.
Well, yeah. I mean, human beings have a natural need to belong, and people can find belonging through illness, and oftentimes that illness is self-diagnosed. You know, or just completely made up. There's a disease called Morgellons that Joni Mitchell thinks that she has and insists that she has. It's a completely made up disease where people believe that strings are growing out of their skin and stuff, but it's like a whole thing. But even look at the way that people will put ADHD or autism in their bios on social media. And it's like, there is no way that this many people have ADHD or autism. It's like completely self-diagnosed. Yeah. And with anything, it's the people who are the most well who become the spokespeople for something. So I'm not saying that people should be ashamed of having autism or being on the spectrum in some way. I think it's great to be open about it and talk about it. But what those people should understand, the people who, you know, are self-diagnosed are one thing, but the people who do genuinely have some version of autism need to understand is that they're speaking for some people who, you know, there are people that have to wear protective gear all the time because they're so severely autistic that they could hurt themselves. And so it's kind of like the spokespeople for all of these things are always either the most well or people who are just completely self-diagnosing, which is a big problem.
The other thing that's, I think, really powerful about this movie is that it's about Julianne Moore plays Carol White, and she's written by Todd Haynes as someone with like no interior life, very little going on. She's married to Xander Berkeley from Alex Cox's Walker, who rocks. Who they have, the movie opens on them having a like Dress to Kill level awful sex scene. She's married to him. He has a child from another marriage. She lives in his big house. She doesn't have a job. She's a homemaker, as she says. All of her friends are proximity friends to their house. They're just neighbors or like his sisters or his brother's wife or whatever, or people that she meets at the aerobics class. It's like she has, the most we find out about her is that she's from Texas. Yeah. That's it. That's all we learn about her. And we have there's so many points where she goes to therapy or she's asked to give a speech at a birthday party for herself. And all she says in those moments are either like, I'm Carol, my husband is this, and we live in the San Fernando Valley. Or it's her like stumbling to parrot back speech that's been told to her. There's no interior life for her, and so
she's almost like a Stepford wife.
Yeah,
she's played.
But I know people like this, and
so you live in LA. How could you not?
Exactly. So this illness coming to her gives her an identity, and so she's able to follow these other people that are maybe more ill than her or less ill than her, and follow what they do. And like when someone she sees at one of these conferences is carrying around an oxygen tank, she buys an oxygen tank and it starts carrying it around. At no point is it visually or literally stated that she has trouble breathing and needs this. She coughs a few times.
Yeah.
But like, and then she carries around the rest of the movie. And this is both like, there are plenty of people that find an identity for themselves through their illness, but also find an identity through that whether they were self-diagnosed or not. There's also plenty of people that find an identity for themselves out of whatever label they can apply to themselves, like queerness.
Sure. Tribalism of all sorts, political stripe, like anything can be an identity.
I know plenty of people who like the biggest thing about their identity is rainbow flag, is I'm gay.
Yeah.
If there's rainbow flag merch at Target, I'm going to buy it because I'm gay. I'm gay. Yeah. I'm going to go to West Hollywood tonight because I'm gay. And you're like, okay, outside of all of that, let's strip away the thing that you're gay. Imagine you're not gay. Imagine that sexuality is not on the table. Who are you? Yeah. What are your interests? What are your hobbies? What do you... like, it's very telling. And so, like, there's been a lot of discussion around... This movie is great because it's kind of like a cryptex. It's kind of like a Rorschach painting because Todd Haynes gives you so much and none of it gets answered that you can interpret it in so many different ways just about the way that human beings behave and about the way that life post like industrialization can be harmful and causes people to act in certain ways. That it's because he's a queer filmmaker and because this film came out at the rise of the new queer cinema movement and because this film came out at a very particular time in the history of AIDS and is set in a different time in the history of AIDS, that it's frequently read as a queer allegory. It doesn't have to be. It absolutely can be in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
It can be read as an AIDS movie. It can be read as a non-AIDS movie, but still a queer read. It's so telling that the one person who has AIDS in this movie is like
such awful. A villain. You're right. It is kind of like a tea leaves kind of movie. You could read a lot into it depending on where you come from, what your politics are, all of that sort of stuff. He makes a lot of really interesting choices. Like I already mentioned, the cult leader who's the gay man with AIDS, but he, you can believe that the environmental illness is real because there's always something from the environment entering the scene. So For example, there's a scene where people are outside having a very quiet heart-to-heart, but you can hear airplanes going overhead.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always something like that. There's always some element. She's in her house having a conversation, and you can hear cleaners in the next room with vacuum.
You hear the vacuum, yeah.
So there's always something like that kind of helps you believe that it could be real and she could be not just making it up. But then he also does a thing where he keeps the camera very far away from the subject often. So it physically distances you from the characters in the scene in a way that makes it hard to attach emotionally onto them in this way that is just very distanced and cold compared to most normal movies.
We
so
don't get a close-up the whole movie until the final shot.
Basically, yeah, I think you're right.
One of the most, like, I don't know, exciting and profound shots in this movie is when the first time she comes into her house near the beginning of the film. I think right before she discovers that the couch that was delivered is black and not teal. Good Lord.
Good God.
And she comes in and the camera is like shooting the room like a doll, like it's like a dollhouse. Like you're just getting the dining room with like columns and stuff, and she's in a doorway from the kitchen into the dining room over in like the right hand corner and has like a whole conversation over there. And the moment she starts to walk into the space, the camera backs out.
Yeah,
it's like the camera's afraid of her.
Yeah, it's a really cool choice. There's a couple of pieces of media that I want to shout out that I thought of because these two things have kind of changed my life in the past few years. One is a book by Barbara Ehrenreich, who passed away, I think, in 2020, unfortunately, but it was just like this great, brilliant journalist and writer. And she wrote a book called Bright-Sided: How Positive Thinking is Undermining America. And it was a book about her getting breast cancer and people saying things to her like, you'll see, this is the best thing that ever happened to you. Or like giving her this kind of like positive thinking bullshit. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have breast cancer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And her being like a great cynic and like a brilliant thinker sent her on this path to just like researching optimism in American history at different points where being compelled to think positively undermines the things that need to be done or undermines great improvement of society and stuff. And it's just so interesting. And I thought of it so much in this episode. And then the other thing is a podcast called American Hysteria that I love. And there's a great episode about self-esteem. And basically, self-esteem is not real. It was like invented. It was invented by this California, of course, politician in the 70s at Esalen, of course. And he thought that, he decided that if people felt good, they would do good, basically. And he was able to sell it to conservatives because the idea was like, if people had better self-esteem, they would leave their families less often. They would do fewer drugs. They would be unemployed less often, so and so and so forth. But what happened was all this bullshit got fed to kids in the 80s and 90s at school as if it were math or science. And studies show that it made people more narcissistic, not less. And in fact, people don't do good because they feel good. People feel good because they do good. It's exactly the opposite. And so this movie made me think of the ways that it made me think of self-help. It made me think of the way that we've been applying social justice language to mental illness. It made me think of all the ways that people find a sense of specialness in their illnesses, physical or mental. It's just like something that I've been stewing a lot on since obviously pandemic.
Well, it's a very timely movie, especially following. So we have gone through and we are still in more or less a pandemic based around COVID-19. And we should also say that we were recording this at a point where like there is one of the single largest COVID spikes since 2020, like right now. Which is very scary. But we're also now, because we're now 4 years out from the beginning of that, we're at a point where like long COVID disability is a very real experience for a lot of people.
Well, it is, but it's also not, because actually no one knows anything about it. And so again, people are self-diagnosing. And to your point about the spike that we're having right now, you're right, of course, but there's also a lot of COVID doomerism that's not based in any science. Like vaccinated people are not dying of COVID. Like the number, it is completely safe in the world for people who are vaccinated. And yes, we have to think about unvaccinated people, but I just mean on both sides, everyone is just like engaging in pseudoscience, essentially. Do you know what I mean? Like
no, 1,000,000%.
Elderly people, unvaccinated people, immunocompromised people. Of course, those people are in danger from COVID, and we have to think about them. But there's just so much doomerism around it that's not based in science, and the media engages in this doomerism, and it's just it's like I've been thinking about this stuff a lot these past couple of years.
I watched an interview with Todd Haynes. It's an interview with him and Julianne Moore that's included on the Criterion release of Safe. I watched it this morning, and he was talking about how, for him, a great deal of Safe is about an issue that he noticed popping up in the late 80s and early 90s that has not gone away, which was a shift in progressive and left-wing politic ideology from being concerned about corporations and companies and global ideology and larger scale issues, and the way infrastructure and society at large disenfranchises people, and the way that systems of power abuse and manipulate people, and changed to the way human beings interrupt people and harm people. And the problem is within you, and you can fix the problem because the problem is you. It's the same thing with the way that we've now been dealing with, or government bodies have been discussing climate change for 20 odd years of, well, if you stop using plastic straws,
yeah, exactly,
we'll be fine. It has nothing to do with oil companies. It has nothing to do with large-scale manufacturers. It has nothing to do with the fact that Taylor Swift pollutes as much as like small European countries.
It is also in social justice conversations, right? Like a really important conversation about systemic racism somehow got shifted by grifter Robin DiAngelo, author of White Fragility, the biggest piece of trash book I've ever read, to be a conversation about interpersonal dynamics. And it's like racism cannot be solved between person to person. It has to be solved on the systemic level. That's why we're so avoidant in talking about class and economic justice, because that's one of the largest and easiest ways to have real societal change. So it's like they make sure to keep it to be about like how are two people interacting with each other, rather than like how is the system advantaging some people over others.
Well, it's also, and it's something that's demonstrated in Safe, in the movie, where like the whole first 2/3, it seems that all of the issues around her are coming from actual, genuine, real, like, toxicity in a very modern, well-to-do life in, Westwood, essentially, where, like, there's, like, really fucking bad chemicals with the dry cleaners. There's really fucking bad chemicals in your carpet. We should be talking about why these companies are allowed to be using these harmful chemicals.
Yeah.
But no, the solution is to sit in a fucking yurt in the desert where you will be manipulated even worse by people one-on-one.
Right. And again,
where like you won't be harmed by faceless companies, you'll be harmed by a rich man who claims to have AIDS, whether he has AIDS or not. Like,
right. And again, like a lot of the media that she consumes near the beginning of the movie is about climate change and the dangers of melting ice caps and all of that stuff, which is very, very real. So
there's self-help and spirituality stuff through the whole like background noise of the first half of the movie.
Yeah.
She's
the
like
fruit diet.
Yeah, the fruit diet is there. She's like watching TV and someone's talking about that stuff on the radio. Someone's talking about a self-help book. When she's driving in her car behind a big polluting truck, she's listening to like a Christian evangelical station about being a warrior for Christ and stuff like that. So it's both that she's being surrounded by this ideology and this stuff all the time, but also that she's looking for this the whole time because she has a void in herself she wants to fill.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Which is a very relatable and understandable place of being in 20th century life, when, you know, you don't have to worry about where your food is coming from and you don't have to worry about having a roof over your head, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. All of that has been fulfilled for you other than the thing inside of yourself. So then that can be controlled and manipulated.
Yeah. Something that caused a big change in my life in 2020, other than the pandemic, like I said, I had this podcast about spirituality basically and like woo-woo stuff. And it was kind of like cheeky, but also I kind of meant it. And the anti-science stuff in terms of the pandemic really changed my mind a lot. But then something that I had already been thinking about, Bell Hooks passed away, and there was a quote by her that I'll paraphrase, but basically it was saying that like any spiritual path that focuses only on the self and not at the collective is something to be really wary of. And that I really took that to heart. And so I always think of that in terms of these sorts of things, like whether it's a diet, whether it's self-improvement, whether it's spirituality. I'm a deeply spiritual person, but it has to be about like, how do I make the world better, or how do I help other people? There's no legitimate spiritual path that focuses only internally. You know what I mean? And I think so much of our culture across all spaces is just so focused. It's so solipsistic. We're all just so focused on ourselves all the time, whether we're talking about identity or mental health or spirituality or politics or whatever. It's just like we all have to stop thinking about ourselves so much. It's not healthy. It feels like an overcorrection from when like there was no individualism, like in the 1950s or whatever, when it was only about the collective all the time. Now it feels like the opposite, like there's no collective ever, and it's all just us looking inside of ourselves.
And how dare you not agree with me on this thing about myself?
Yeah. I don't need to be constantly litigating every aspect of my brain, my spirit, and my body and my identity. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good for me.
It's also used as another form of control, because it's very easy to get people into identity politics and be like, oh, you are this way, you are this thing, you are X, Y, or Z. Well, then you must vote for the candidate who operates for X and Y. There is no Z candidate, but you are the people of X and Y, so you must vote for the candidate of X and Y. And then, of course, that person gets into office, and like a certain person who is in office right now is like, oh, I'm not a progressive. I never claimed to be a progressive.
Right.
You fucking campaigned on that. And you son of a bitch.
It's so tricky and pernicious because identity politics are very important, right? Like we have to fight racism. We have to fight transphobia. We have to fight for the poor and all of these sorts of things.
But they can be weaponized to manipulate so easily.
Yeah. Because and turn us against each other. And
there's a great line that Julianne Moore has near the end of the movie where she's sitting alone in her cabin, and that the leader comes up to her. I like calling him the leader because it makes me think of the Simpsons episode where Homer joins the cult. And talks with her, and he's like, I see her having a hard time fitting in. And her response is just, I'm just having some trouble learning the words.
It's like,
yeah, there are specific words for her. There's a specific language of talking about each other in this space. And like, poor Carol White, she would not survive on Twitter.
No, God.
But if this movie was made today, this movie was set today, so much of it would be like around the way that like we recruit and manipulate and get in our information from unreliable sources. It's the same way that like young lesbians who like were on Twitter when they were like, and Tumblr when they were like 14 through 17 are now in their mid-20s and they're TERFs.
Right.
Because they got fed fucking TERF shit from bad actors and unreliable sources on Tumblr fucking like 8 years ago.
Yeah, and young men are being radicalized to the right on YouTube and Reddit and places like that. So, yeah, it's real. Also, not to change the subject, but it can't go unsaid that there's an appearance by Jessica Harper in this movie from
I was about to say
Treatment, Phantom of Paradise, and
Suspiria. It's honestly a jump scare. Well, I will also say
it's a good jump scare.
There two great performers pop up in the end of this, which is Jessica Harper and then James LeGros, who is this like pseudo romantic interest that goes nowhere for her at Renwood, who listeners may know from Phantasm 2 and a myriad of other incredible movies. My partner actually just worked with him recently, and so when his credit popped up on the screen, they got along super well and like had a great time working together. It was a very like turbulent thing, whatever. They had a great time working. So when he showed up, she was like, "Oh my god!" And like he's like so baby young in this. He's incredible. But like Jessica Harper has like, I don't think I've seen a movie with her other than this post Shock Treatment.
She is in the remake of Suspiria, but in like a very small sort of like.
Yes, she
is. It's like a vanity appearance sort of thing.
Yeah, a little cameo.
But she's a legitimately good actor. I mean,
her performance in this is great.
Yeah, I mean, she's a beautiful singer, but she's great in this.
She has 2 scenes in this, and the final one she has, which they're kind of like in a round, and it's the like, what made you get sick? Why did you get sick? What is it about you? The performance with her eyes alone in that scene is incredible. Why
very
she
subtle
isn't
performance, very beautiful,
and she breaks down, and it's so painful. Why she doesn't do more work like that? Why she doesn't? I will never understand.
Never understand. She's so talented, and I love her.
It should also be noticed that the soundtrack for this movie spans the gamut from Madonna to Brian Eno to Kenny Loggins.
At first, when it said 1987 in the beginning, for some reason I read it as 1967. And then and I was like, this really feels like the 80s and it's a 90s movie. I don't know what's going on. And then by the time they're doing aerobics to Lucky Star by Madonna, I was like, oh, it must have said 1987.
It did.
Yeah. I love the music. I mean, he really does a good job of like choosing some pretty cheesy 80s music. Not like the cool 80s music, but the music that you hear at a drugstore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's great. And it's diegetic, it sounds like. It sounds like they're actually playing it in the space. And that
all the songs in the movie are diegetic. And it's all very like 80s synth pop.
Yeah.
And all the colors are very pastel purples and teals and pinks. And then she goes to Renwood, and then all the music is Kenny Loggins and acoustic. And all the palette shifts to like really earth tone coppers and oranges and browns.
Yeah.
It's great.
I love this movie. This has been a very intellectual episode, but I think we should move on to Have They Seen It, the game where we speculate wildly whether notable figures have seen this movie.
Yeah, let's get stupid.
Okay. We just mentioned Jessica Harper, which made me think of Cliff D. Young, who plays Brad in Shock Treatment. Do you think Cliff D. Young has seen this?
I love Cliff D. Young. I think he's incredible. And also, like, again, he's an incredible singer in Shock Treatment. He does not get nearly enough work. He's also amazing in The Hunger.
The dad in Flight of the Navigator, my 80s kids.
Oh, yeah. I saw that as... I don't know why that was shown to us in elementary school, but it was for some reason.
We watched it all the time in elementary school in the 80s, but it's pretty passé by the time you were a small child, so...
Yeah.
Cliff D. Young, has he seen it?
I think he's definitely seen this.
Okay.
It played at Sundance in 95, apparently to a good number of walkouts, which is very funny. According to Julianne Moore in that interview, she said that like a lot of people walked out, and then Todd Haynes was like, "Well, I was there, so not that many people walked out, but yes, people walked out."
You know how people love to walk out of things at film festivals. Those people are insufferable.
You're either walking out or you're giving a 17-minute standing ovation.
Right. Exactly.
I think he's definitely seen it. I think he saw it probably in New York or wherever it is that he lives. Do
you think they're friends or friendly at all, Cliff D. Young and Jessica Harper?
Yeah, I have to assume so. Okay. She's every interview that I've seen with her, she's like the sweetest, nicest person. Same with him. Like he's popped up in a lot of stuff since then, and I'm always like, oh, Cliff D. Young is in this. Usually like little TV appearances and stuff.
Yeah,
I get the feeling that, especially because like the Rocky Horror world is very cult and very like there's a lot of like conventions and stuff that they go to, especially Phantom of the Paradise as well. And I see both of them not at the same time, but I do see both of them occasionally like build on like Monster Palooza, siding at this table, Jessica Harper, star of So I feel like they've been doing some of that in the years since. I'm sure they're friendly. I feel like he would have seen it as a like, oh, I heard this Julianne Moore is up and coming and doing well, and I heard this Todd Haynes is up and coming and doing well. Let me go see this new movie. And I feel like Jessica would have popped up in the back half and he would have been like, oh, hey.
Yeah. I love when someone, because Jessica Harper to me seems so nice and normal. And I love when someone like that is just like a cult superstar, but they're kind of a normcore person. It's sort of like something that happened to them just by accident. You know what I mean?
Well,
but
Barbara Crampton, too, is like a very like, genuine, nice. I mean, she's into horror movies more than her suburban life would let on, but like, she's very normal and great. But to a certain subset of people, she is a superstar.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's so fun.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Love Has Won, and speaking of the cult angle of this movie, we do know that Amy Carlson, the late Amy Carlson, aka Mother God to those who follow her, was a big watcher of movies. Yeah. She watched, I mean, granted, Robin Williams isn't in Safe, but she was a big watcher of movies. That's how she knew who her angels were.
Right.
Good Lord.
There's no way. There's no way.
And she's very keen on self-help and self-improvement. And do you think that she watched Safe?
No, there's no way. I mean, her taste would have been so bad that you could tell by the people that she picks as angels that her taste in movies is shitty, and her taste in music and stuff. Anytime we see her like singing along to a song, it's something terrible. Yeah. I think she was a really dumb person. I think she was a grifter. I think her taste was shitty. I mean, she names Donald Trump as one of her angels too.
Yeah.
Her angels are like weird. Like anyone from
like Tupac.
Robin Williams. It's like Dennis Rodman. I don't know. People who aren't even dead. You know, like she sucked. I hate her. I loved that documentary, but I hated her. And there's no way that she's seen something cool and sophisticated like this. Absolutely not. What do you think?
Because like even with the like, oh yeah, Robin Williams is one of the angels, and we just watch Robin's movies all the time, and you're like, oh, okay, so like what? Like Fisher King, like Good Morning Vietnam. Oh no, they're just rewatching Mrs. Doubtfire on a loop. Garbage.
It's true. Right.
Yeah, no, she's definitely not seen this. But I do feel like if she watched this, she would like have a smile at the end and a tear rolling down her face of being like, oh, she got help. She would not fucking read into the fact that like she's getting visibly worse by the end. She would not read into the fact that if this is truly supposed to be a like free of toxicity out, like we're doing this for you, they wouldn't be next to the highway.
Do you think, I mean, she would be like, that's such an important movie, but for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe it's for the best that she never saw this.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. I mean, I don't think things could have gotten much worse for her and the people around her, but maybe if they had seen this, they would have. So this movie came out in 1995. Somebody that I was obsessed with in 1995, who was definitely around and like going to fancy places like film festivals. Do you think that Courtney Love ever saw this?
Oh my God. Yeah, probably, but I don't think Courtney Love has seen it since the 90s.
No, I don't think so either.
I feel like she saw it in the 90s, and I feel like she enjoyed it, but I feel like it's the kind of thing where Courtney Love would have been like, oh, it's camp. It's great. I laughed all the way through. You're like, ma'am?
Yeah.
Or
ma'am.
Or it's the kind of thing where she'd be like, oh my God, can you believe that movie where Julianne Moore got AIDS? And you're like,
what movie are you talking about?
That's not that.
Yeah. What's your take on Courtney Love? Or do you like her or no?
I like Whole enough. The more I've learned about Courtney Love as a person over the years, the less I've been like, I've less impressed I've been with her. I remember there's a video that went around in like 2010, 2011 or something like that of Hole performing around that time at a show in like Texas or something. And beforehand, the video had been posted by like the sound guy at that venue. And apparently she'd been shitty to him at sound check. And so midway through the show, he like pumped her guitar all the way up and turned the other guitars down, and she wasn't even like playing any notes. It was just like clanging. She was just like hitting random shit, and you're like, oh, got it. Okay.
I've spent a lot of time in my life defending her, but I just don't think I can do it anymore. I'll always love Hole, but it is what it is.
I love Hole, but I mostly love Hole because I love the Distillers, and the Distillers are very influenced by Hole, and the amount of like awesome 90s, like very angry female friend. I'll just listen to the Breeders. Like, I don't know.
I love the Breeders. There was a moment in the late 90s when Courtney Love like almost got it together. Like she got sober, she moved to LA, she put out that album, Celebrity Skin, that people hated at the time, but is such a banger of an album. And she was in The People versus Larry Flint, and she, like she had it all together, and it just like slipped through her fingers. Addiction is no joke.
Mm-hmm. I will say, if you haven't seen the movie Her Smell yet, I highly recommend it. It's about Courtney Love, but it's not about Courtney. It's legally not about Courtney Love. It's in the same way that Todd Haynes' Velvet Goldmine is not about David Bowie, but everyone's it's also so funny that she's in Sid and Nancy. Like,
yeah, she's quite bad in Sid and Nancy. And when I lived in Seattle, there's a place called Broadway Video in Capitol Hill, and I went there to rent Sid and Nancy on VHS, and they're like, "Oh, somebody checked it out and never returned it." And they were like, "Oh, it was Courtney Love."
Oh my god,
she's from Seattle.
So funny.
That was like 1999 in Seattle.
Yeah, she felt entitled to that one, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Julianne Moore is the shit. This was like her big breakout. Mm-hmm. She'd been in like Robert Altman Shortcuts, and she'd been in Louis Malle's Vanya on 42nd Street.
Excuse you. She was in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and she's excellent in it.
Sure. She also did soap operas.
Yeah.
But I fell in love with Julianne Moore in the mid-2000s on television when she played the incredible Bostonian on 30 Rock.
Oh, yeah. She's great in that.
She's incredible. And of course, like, she's the best. The fact that she's able to do heart-rending Magnolia and then can turn around and do the silliest Boston accent ever and make you laugh your ass off on 30 Rock is incredible.
She's very funny.
Do you think that Tina Fey has seen Safe? Star of Mean Girls, the musical?
So I really like Tina Fey. I feel like her star has been somewhat tarnished in the past few years by like reappraisal of her work. But I do think she's legitimately funny and talented, smart person.
I think 30 Rock is one of the best sitcoms of the past ever. And I think Kimmy Schmidt is like, while not perfect, still like one of the better shows in the past few years. Like,
yeah, I think 30 Rock
other stuff isn't great.
30 Rock is one of the most consistently funny sitcoms that has ever been made. I think some of it is aged poorly.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's old. Anyway, I just don't feel like she'd seen this. I don't think that I think that she's smart and cool and funny and all of that and sophisticated. I think that she probably only watches comedies, frankly. I don't think that she watches like art films.
I remember like back when Robert Osborne was alive, so that times this, that she did one of those like TCM guest hosts spots.
Oh, really?
For a bit. Alec Baldwin did too. Wow. And, she had very, very good picks, but they were primarily like old Hollywood movies. And like they break out of comedies to a degree, but in the way that like stuff that my mom watches, which is not to denigrate my mom. My mom has incredible taste.
Well, those movies are really good too. You know what I mean?
But like, yeah, I feel like if Tina Fey's in the mood to put on a thriller, she's going to put on like Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious. She's not going to put on Safe.
I feel like her TCM picks would be like My Girl Friday and things like that. Like good movies, but more lighthearted.
Yeah, I feel like more like Peter Bogdanovich movies, Howard Hawks movies, Hitchcock, like stuff like that. Maybe Jacques Demy or like...
Yeah, I think she can
stuff like that.
But you're not getting her to watch Eraserhead. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. And I'm absolutely certain that she's more than familiar with Julianne Moore's body of work and has definitely seen like Boogie Nights and Magnolia and stuff like that.
Totally.
Shortcuts even. I feel like Safe might be a bridge too far. But this is also a movie that hates LA culture, and she hates LA culture in everything she writes, so I don't know.
Maybe. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Bloodhouse. If you did, please rate it 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. You can email us at bloodhousepod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at bloodhousepod. Drusilla, what are your socials?
You can follow me on Instagram at Hyde Sister. You can find my art over at sisterhydedesign.com. I still have some prints available there. I will have more and some like shirts and stuff going up over there soon. And you can follow me on Letterboxd. If you look for Drusilla Adeline or Sister Hyde, I'm on there, and you can find out all the Ken Russell movies I've been watching, because the Criterion Channel has a bunch of Ken Russell movies up.
They sure do.
What about you, Josh? Where can people follow you?
I'm at Joshua Conkle on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. Now, next week is very special. It is not our 100th episode, but it is our 99th episode, falling on the 2-year anniversary of our show, which is Valentine's Day. So we decided to choose something very special and very romantic. What is it?
We're throwing a cuddly little love in to celebrate 2 years and the true romance and bond between us as a show and you as listeners. We will be getting together, we'll be pulling out a warm blanket, we'll be lighting a candle, and we'll be having a nice homemade meal as we come together and watch Leonard Castle's sole directorial effort, The Honeymoon Killers.
Oh, that's sweet. Bye.